Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Shedding the Bitch Radio, where you can discuss, debate, and get advice on how to discover and shed the bitches of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and negative mindsets so you can realize your dreams and life purpose and create and accelerate the riches you want in life. Join us here live every Tuesday at noon Eastern and dialogue with us at 818-572-2910. You can also chat with us at Blog Talk Radio /SheddingTheBitch or share your stories on our website at sheddingthebitch.com. Whatever the bitch is that's holding you back from living your life to the fullest, it's not worth giving up the riches in life that you deserve. So call in now and let Bernadette Boas know what's holding you back. 818-572-2910.
Good day, everyone, on this beautiful, well, somewhat cloudy, rainy Tuesday. I hope it's lovely wherever you are. It's been quite a week, being that it's already just Tuesday of a new week. I just flew in yesterday, had the day off for a family wedding over the weekend, so I'm kind of a little bit disoriented. I was thinking today was Monday on, multiple calls I've been on all morning. So I'm glad I actually made it to the show because all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday. But had a beautiful weekend up in Rehoboth, Delaware for a family wedding. So I do want to do a shout out to Francis and Marissa, who are going to be listening today. Congratulations, sweethearts, and have a blast when you get off finally onto your honeymoon. And thank you for just a beautiful day. And certainly God was watching over them over the weekend because even our guest, Joe, and I were just talking about the whole East Coast has been getting stormed on for about 7 days now. And we're, at least in Atlanta, we're still going to continue this pattern for the next 4 or 5 days. And when I got up to Rehoboth, Delaware on Friday, and even up until about an hour before the wedding, which was a beach wedding, of course, it was storming. And so I put out even a request for prayers out onto our Facebook page. And fortunately, we got out to the hotel. We started walking toward the beach, and everything was set up, and everything was dry. And it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony, and actually worked out beautifully because it was that overcast, which is great for pictures, and it's great for being able to actually see without the glare of the sun. It just turned out to be fabulous. And then I was also, though, very concerned. How many got up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning for the royal wedding? I was going to actually have a conversation with Deborah this morning, Deborah of Parker House Virtual Services. She's generally with us, and I don't know that she's checked in yet. I don't see her on the studio board, but I was up. I couldn't sleep, actually, so I got up and wanted to also take a glance at the wedding. But actually, I was so glad I did because if you didn't watch it or didn't see the replays of it, the preacher, the homily, being that it was a Church of England church mass, the preacher was an American preacher, I believe out of Chicago, out of Illinois, Michael Curry. And his sermon, it was actually supposed to be only 7 minutes and turned out to be 14, but his sermon was all around the theme of love is the only way. And how timely is that? Because certainly, I was feeling it with my nieces and nephews and my family surrounding Francis and Marissa for the wedding. At the same time, just from today's climate out there and with a lot of the junk that happens to get broadcasted loudly, it was nice to hear and just sit in and settle for about 14 minutes and listen to a lively, take me to church type of sermon from Michael Curry. So that was very, very, very nice. And then before we move on and get into our subject for today, I would love to just ask for our Shedding the Bitch community, if you would keep a friend of mine and his family in your prayers. He just learned that his wife has a brain tumor that is inoperable. So we often help each other from a prayer and a contemplation perspective. So would love it to ask everyone to just keep him and his family in your prayers for comfort, for peace, for reflection, and for however the next several weeks, turns out to be. They could just use a lot of angels and prayers flying their way. So that would be very appreciative. So on that note, we'll just segue into our conversation for today, which we all can use. Because if there's one thing that I'm always asked about, and I'm always asked for experts to come onto our program, and boy, do we have one today. It's all around just how do you manage your time? Are you more productive? How do you get all the things done that you need to get done? How do you make better decisions? How can you be better at making or prioritizing what you have to do on those long to-do lists? So today, that's what we're going to talk about, better decision-making through priority and time management. And there is a difference, and there's a way to have those two complement each other so you are a lot more productive in your life. And you'll discover how to prioritize your highest revenue-producing activities, which will help you maximize your time and your effort. And it doesn't matter if you are an entrepreneur in your own business, if you're a stay-at-home, if you're in corporate and simply need to be more productive and more effective and efficient at what it is that you need to get done. That's what we're going to talk about, so you can get the clarity, the focus, and the execution that'll make you successful in all areas of your life. So the rich question for today, and those of you who are listening for the first time, we pose a rich question around the subject that we're going to be talking about, so you can kind of sit with it. We talk about how to be self-aware of kind of who you are and what your thoughts and what your behaviors and actions are. So we'd like to give you a rich question to consider. 99% of the time, our expert answers it. If not, then you can go back out to Shedding the Bitch on Facebook or Twitter, or even we're going to make sure that you have our guests' contact information. You can reach out to them directly so you can get your questions answered. So that rich question regarding the subject on decision-making, prioritization, and time management. What is the one area of your life you feel is impacting your success in a negative way? So is there a time management issue? You're not making good decisions. You're not taking those risks that you need to. What is the one area you'd like to improve is you feel right now is impacting your success at work or at home? Sit on that as we get into our conversation. You can post with us and tweet with us, Facebook and Twitter on Shedding the Bitch. As well, I'll give you the handles of our guests. And rich tag with us on hashtag time management, hashtag business success, and hashtag, of course, shed the bitch. Hashtag time management, hashtag business success, hashtag shed the bitch. All right, when we get back, we are going to dive into this conversation, and I'll introduce you to our global guru for sales training and coaching, and we will have you getting clarity, focus, and execution in no time. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. We are inspiring individuals around the globe to discover, confront, and shed their bitches of fear, insecurity, and negativity, so they can create the riches in their career, business, and life they deserve. Be sure to check out Bernadette's book, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, Shifting from Bitch to Rich in Life and Business, available on Amazon and sheddingthebitch.com. We also want to thank our sponsors, TSR Consulting, who offers a broad range of tax services for small to corporate-sized clients. Go to tsrconsulting.com to learn more. And Parker House Virtual Services, who provides virtual assistance and social media support for small to medium-sized businesses. Email Deborah Parker at deborahparker78@gmail.com for more information. To become a sponsor or advertiser on our program, email us at mediarelations@sheddingthebitch.com. Shedding the Bitch Radio airs every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Be sure to go to blogtalkradio.com/Shedding the Bitch Radio and follow the program for all of the updates and announcements of our guests and show topics. Now let's return to Bernadette and Shedding the Bitch Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to get you clear on what it is you're working to do and achieve. We're going to get you focused, and we're going to help you execute in the most effective and productive way. So our guest today, Joe Peachy, has been ranked in the top 30 by global gurus for sales training and coaching. For 25 plus years, he has been a catalyst to companies and individuals across 4 continents for increasing sales and productivity. We are all struggling with the demands of work, career, home, and family. In the current business climate, with its ever-changing landscape, it is imperative that business owners have razor-sharp decision-making skills. There is no measure for error. This caused Joe to create the priority and time management methodology, which equips his clients with a dependable decision-making process. Joe is co-owner of Pici Pici Inc. with his wife, Dawn. They have co-authored the book Sell Naked on the Phone, and they have successfully worked together for 26 years and are enjoying their 43rd year of marriage. Welcome to the program, Joe.
Hey, thanks for inviting me in, Bernadette.
You are certainly welcome. 43 years of marriage. Kudos to the two of you. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it's another topic we could talk about, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. It certainly is. Well, if you would, for our audience, could you provide some backstory before we dive into the specific question? But why is this subject matter so important? We know it's important to your clients, but so important to you, where you focus and have become a top guru in the subject matter.
Well, I think it was first because I needed a non-emotional way of making decisions. You know, I think most people make decisions on emotion or feeling, and I made a lot of mistakes making decisions before we got into business for ourselves, and then after we got into business. I made impulsive decisions, and it cost us time and money. So I had to create a non-emotional, very logically based process that if I was going to make the wrong decision, I knew while I was making it instead of $100,000 later or a lot of lost time. Right.
Which is money.
But
your time is
more important than money. Okay.
Absolutely. And I want to remind everyone, you can reach out to us at 1-818-572-2910 live if you have questions for Joe. I'm also watching the chat room, but also just make note of his website right now, peachyandpeachy.com. That's P-I-C-I and P-I-C-I.com. And you can also tweet with him and link in with him and Facebook with him. But tweeting at Pici and Peachy is his primary. And then, of course, LinkedIn, you can look for him as Joe Peachy. And as we go through the program, I'll look to see if any of you have questions that we may or may not be addressing. So I would have to agree, Joe, that, you know, this subject of kind of just where does time go just gets so many of us. But why do you think that is? Why do you think so many people struggle with managing their time?
Because they try to manage time, and you can't manage time. But you can manage events and priorities and actions. So if you start with that in mind, if instead of trying to manage your minutes, your hours, if you manage to and rank order prioritization of the events that you're going to have to act on, then your time will fit into that.
Okay, so paint us a picture of that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm looking at it from a calendar, like I'm looking at it from taking it from that concept to how they execute on it. And you're summing up events to be any type of activity, task?
Well, let's start with the big picture, which is I have a 3-step process which starts with many facets of your life. We'll call those purposes. Now, I'm not talking about becoming a better person. I'm talking about purposes are facets. You've got your business, you've got your career, you've got your family, you got your spiritual. You have many different facets of your life. So you have to rank order those based on the day of the week, the month. But then under purpose, so now if I'm working in my business purpose, I have to create clarity, which is the most overused word for coaches out there. Okay? Everybody's a clarity coach. I had to come up with what was real clarity for Joe and Dawn Peachy. I believe there's 3 things you have to have in place. You have to know what you want as an end result. You have to know when you want it. You have to know why you want it.
Okay.
If you don't have those 3 things in place, it's partial clarity, which is no clarity at all. And so you have to anchor all your decisions in the end result. So if you know how you want it to end, so let's look at a financial thing. If you know how much money you want to make, and you know when you want to make it, and you know why you want to make it, that becomes your anchor for all decisions. Because in everybody's business life, personal life, whatever, there are what I call non-negotiables.
Yep.
And people usually negotiate with the non-negotiables because they don't want to do it. They don't feel like doing it. They put it off. And so that is really, if you look at those 3 aspects, what, when, and why, the hardest thing you'll ever really come up with is why. Because the minute you hit your real why, then the non-negotiables become non-negotiable.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, I see that. Okay. Now, what if I didn't have the when in there? What happens to someone's ability to do what they need to do if they're lacking, defining their when they want to achieve something or do something?
Well, a dream without a date is a fantasy, okay? And so if, I train tactical sales all over the world, and if a person doesn't know their date, usually it doesn't go to contract, okay? So if you don't have an absolute date that you want to hit your destination, then everything is negotiable.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. Absolutely.
And so the top box of the model is the hardest box because it takes the minute you hit the top box and it's real, your life changes forever because now all decisions are based on what is it that I want at the end of this, when do I want it, and why do I want it? Because now when people come to you with, hey, Bernadette, can you do this? Well, saying no is the number one ingredient of time management. And so when somebody comes to me with a can you do, then I always ask myself, is this the best choice? Is this the best use of my time towards my what, when, and why?
Great. I love that. I absolutely, because that's just a real simple checklist. Make sure you answer yourself these 3 things before you go and commit to something, and then the next thing you know, you're overwhelmed.
And so if you don't have the top box in place, all the lines are blurred. Now the second box is what I call focus. This is where you build your absolute plan of action. This is where you set your objectives and goals. Most people, when they hire a coach, they want to do a plan of action and they want to set goals. And setting goals or a plan of action without your clarity in place it's a movable object.
Yep.
So now your plan of action has to line up with the end result. For example, a carpenter's helper is not going to make $200,000 a year no matter how many hours they work. Because the pay scale does not line up. And so when choosing a mentor or a coach, you don't really need plan of action objective if the top box is not solid.
Solid or realistic? Or is it realistic, too, that they're just not being honest and real about what it is that they're trying to do, when, and why?
Well, I have a very big coaching business, and I will not be anybody's accountability partner, okay? Because when you're an accountability partner, they will learn to hate you. I help people become accountable to their own priority management system. The only way I will coach people is if we take the time to really get priority management as part of their business, as part of what they're doing. So then, when we get the building blocks in place, it's not me saying you should. It's them saying, we've already unemotionally lined this up. Now when we get to the bottom box, the execution box, these are your specific activities. All right? These are your non-negotiables. These are, if you're growing a business, how many ways am I generating leads? How many appointments am I booking? How many quality appointments am I doing? So let me say this correctly. When a person starts with execution, they will get tired. They will run out of gas. When they start, this is top-down thinking. Okay? I mean, at the end of the year, when Dawn and I map out our business and we create our clarity for the next year and 5 years out, and then we build our plan of action, then under execution, we look at what are the skills that we need to get better at to make this come true, and that's where we invest our time and money in personal growth.
So when you were saying that, people that just execute to begin with, so you're saying that because, we probably all have met them, but you're talking about those people who they don't sit down to get clear as to the what, when, and why. They certainly don't put a plan together, and if they do, they say that it's in their head, and they just start acting and executing and pulling the trigger, and then the next thing you know, they're just kind of a gerbil on a wheel. Is that what?
Yeah, but also they can run out of gas.
Yeah.
And they can get tired. Or here's the thing: they can work in the wrong areas. Right? For example, in our business model, we have seven income streams. 2 of our income streams are our highest revenue producing areas. I spend 95% of my time selling in those 2 areas. That doesn't mean the other areas don't populate.
Right.
But I'm going to focus my time and energy and expertise in our highest revenue producing areas.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the middle box. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay, because I think you were just going where I was about to ask you to go, as far as, identifying those priorities, and that's happening in the focus area, correct?
Absolutely. So, for example, at the end of the year, Dawn and I will literally whiteboard our whole business, and we'll write down 100% of every dollar where it came from that year. Okay?
Yep.
And then we'll backtrack it. And we'll determine, okay, if there was a silo of lead generation that netted no money and we put ample time into it, we no longer go there.
Yeah. Smart. Yep. Okay.
All right? So if you're belonging to a chamber, a leads group, or whatever, those are all wonderful things. But if you're working them well and it's netting you nothing, then why are we going back? Unless it's a social thing. I'm not talking about, if this is a social part of your life, but that's what I mean about having clarity.
Yes. Yes.
5 years from now, Bernadette, you and Pici and Peachy, where we are financially in our business is going to be based more on what we say no to than what we say yes to.
Oh, Oh, and I do want to drill into that whole no. But before we get into the whole no, so someone has, and your methodology is fabulous. So someone has, and again, I'm very visual. So you had said that it's top down. So you have a box with your clarity, your box with your focus, your box with your execution. You're doing that. You don't want to move on to focus or execution without getting clarity, and don't move on to execution without focus. But so if someone has that all laid out, and I'm sure even your clients may run into this situation, but thank God they have you. What causes an individual to get distracted when they have their map all kind of laid out for them as to what it is that they need to get done? How are we getting distracted?
Okay, first of all, Dawn and I are also master trainers of the human behavior model, DISC.
Yes. Okay.
And
great.
Certain behavior styles are more easily distracted. This is part of the DNA. In my tool, priority management, I cannot coach people on priority management all the same because I'll give you an example. My wife is very people-oriented. I'm very task-oriented. At any given time, my wife has 10 projects going. Okay? Because that's the way, that's her makeup. That's not going to change. That doesn't mean she wants to hurt our business. That doesn't mean she doesn't want to focus. That means every project that she is working on has equal importance. So therefore, how priority management can work with that behavior style, and you know who you are out there because you're laughing right now, right? And so what I do with Dawn, one thing is you never coach your wife unless asked. So I say, Dawn will say, I'm having a hard time with my prioritization. So I'll sit down and I'll say, write all the things you have going. Now, first I say, is this a business meeting? Yes. Write all the business projects you have working right now. She does. I said, which one, if you don't do, will hurt our business the most? She circles it. That becomes number one. Got it?
Yep, got it. Got it. Smart.
Now, so therefore, priority management has to also be applicable to each behavior style. Because my behaviors, I created this because I'm very task-oriented, and this just made sense. I have no problem saying no. Whereas there's two behavior styles that really struggle with the word no.
Now, just real quickly, and we don't want to turn this into a DISC conversation, but since you referenced DISC, just make sure that either they can go somewhere and look it up, like on your website, or just explain the four
Sure.
styles.
I'm going to give it very simply. First of all, even though we call it DISC, Dawn and I do not call ourselves DISC trainers because we're more about behavior. So very simplistically, there's 43 blends and there's all different things going on, but people operate generally. They're either fast-paced task, fast-paced people, slow-paced people, slow-paced task. Now, here's the thing about you're never one thing, and you can change your behavior style based on role assignment, based on stress, but when it comes down to it, there's a DNA inside of you that drives you. Was that clear enough?
Absolutely, absolutely. So they can just go and reference also, or your website, Pici and Peachy, everyone, to kind of reach out and have even more information from you at joe@peachyandpeachy.com.
Yeah, and it's A-N-D.
Yes, Joe. Yes, sorry, Joe at peachyandpeachy.com. For more information in regards to DISC. But at the same time, I think that you put it beautifully as well in the fact that there is a DNA of human behavior, and we fall into one of those behaviors. So if you could understand with Joe's help what your tendency is, what your DNA is, it would, help you then define how you operate or how you should be operating and what works most effective for you. So the distraction piece, it comes down to just simply that clarity, focus, and execution. Is that right?
Yeah, but also I believe personally, distraction happen even more when your why you want what you want is not solidified.
When why you want what you want is not solidified.
In other words, if I know what I want and I know why, I'm more focused on that than I'm focused on distraction.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
I mean, I'll give you an example. My wife is very people-oriented. However, she's rewriting all the script on our website right now. So she's acting in a task orientation, even though she doesn't have that. She can function over there. However, the reason she can function over there and that becomes top priority is because we have determined to triple our income this year. That is our what. We have the date, and we know why. Solid. And so that decision was made. So now, once your decision made, then you don't negotiate with the things you'd rather not do.
Right. And it helps with the no. It helps you kind of be able to say no to things that don't fit that equation.
Exactly. Let me give you 5 categories. Here's one thing I've also learned about priorities is people have stopped doing to-do lists. I'm not saying everyone. I'm talking about across the board. I've noticed people are great at having beeps go off on their phone, and they're being reminded. So we've turned into a reactionary people versus proactive.
Right.
Studies have formulated that if you will do your things to-do list the day before, your subconscious, which never rests, will work out issues for you the next day. So I keep a to-do list. Now, that whenever you're doing a to-do list, which is part of your focus area, there's 5 things to do with a to-do list. Number 1, I must do. These are top priority. There are 7 things that absolutely you have got to get done in your business today.
Right.
That needs to go on top.
Okay.
The next one is I should do. All right? The second tier, it would be good. The third one is I'd like to do. Like, I'd like to have a cup of coffee with Bernadette. We could cross-refer. It would be a great thing to do. There may be future business there.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Number 4 is to delegate. Now, here's an easy way to determine if you should delegate something. Look at what you're worth hourly.
Yeah.
Look at how many things you're doing. Yeah, what you feel you're worth hourly. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And how many things are you doing that are below that pay grade?
And that's where you delegate out.
Yep.
Sweet. Are you hearing this, everybody? Because it's really important. If you're doing things in your day, especially those revenue generating hours, that you should be doing the 1, 2, and 3, even the 1 and 2s, even just the 1s, then I love that. Use your hourly rate to decide what needs to be delegated. Love that.
Now, here's the thing, and this is not being prideful or thinking anything is below me, okay? I mean, when I train and speak, nobody has to pour my water, okay? I get in the training room at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm always first there, but that's not my point. My point is when you're running a business, there's certain things that are $10 an hour things. Why are you doing them?
Right, yes.
And the last thing is to eliminate. There's some things on your to-do list that just don't belong there.
Right, absolutely.
Okay?
Love it.
Have lunch with Fred. Why am I having lunch with Fred? I like Fred. Okay, great. Is that going to get you closer or further from your objective?
Right. Now, what's your thought process on once they've decided what these must-dos are? Let's just leave it at the number one must-dos. What is your advice to then using those must-dos? And you don't use time to do that. You use the events, priorities, and actions. But what's your thought on how they then allocate what they need to ensure that those must-dos get done?
That's a great question. First thing, they need to rank order the top priorities. And then, and this will sound really anal, they need to put a timeline by which that's going to get done.
How long it's going to take to get that thing done. That number one thing done, number two thing done.
Absolutely.
Within the must-dos.
Everything in priority and time management has to have timelines and deadlines.
Right. Okay.
How long is it going to take me to do this project, so to speak? Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to gather my thoughts on the next couple of things. But I do want to, because I don't know, Joe, if we finish the conversations around how to say no. So I want to come back to that to see if there's anything that because I think that's, especially for our audience, being women, I think we have the hardest time saying no. So I really want to make sure, everyone, that you have the opportunity to get the top guru, global guru, to provide you some advice and tips on that. So we will be right back with Joe Peachy of Pici and Peachy. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. We are inspiring individuals around the globe to discover, confront, and shed their bitches of fear, insecurity, and negativity so they can create the riches in their career, business, and life they deserve. Be sure to check out Bernadette's book, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, Shifting from Bitch to Rich in Life and Business, available on Amazon and sheddingthebitch.com. We also want to thank our sponsors, TSR Consulting, who offers a broad range of tax services for small to corporate-sized clients. Go to tsrconsulting.com to learn more. And Parker House Virtual Services, who provides virtual assistance and social media support for small to medium-sized businesses. Email Deborah Parker at deborahparker78@gmail.com for more information. To become a sponsor or advertiser on our program, email us at mediarelations@sheddingthebitch.com. Shedding the Bitch Radio airs every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Be sure to go to blogtalkradio.com/sheddingthebitchradio and follow the program for all of the updates and announcements of our guests and show topics. Now let's return to Bernadette and Shedding the Bitch Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking with Joe Peachy of Pici and Peachy. He is a top 30 global gurus for sales training and coaching, and he is a master at helping you really understand time management and priority management, but also how to use it, how to leverage it, how to master it in order for you to be very productive, very effective, very efficient in achieving the goals that you want to have. And before we went on break, we were having a conversation in regards to, just the way that you could categorize and bucket your to-do list and to ensure that must-do, that number one category of your to-do list, then helps you to be able to say no. But ladies, I know, there's men listening too, but ladies, I know you generally have a difficult time saying no. So Joe, is there a secret sauce? Is there a secret formula for individuals to be able to say no confidently beyond what we already, because you've already given us some tidbits, but beyond what we've already talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, that's hidden in the top box. For example, my wife doesn't just, work with me together in our business. My wife is a grandmother. My wife will be homeschooling our grandchildren. Okay. I mean, Priority and time management will actually give you more time to do things that have equal value to you. I mean, look, my life is business, okay? It is.
Sure.
But women have more responsibilities in this country than men. But the other side of it is 70% of startup businesses are now women-owned.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Women executives are far outdistancing men right now. And so women have more categories. So if you go back to the top box and you look at your clarity, you need to have a clarity model for every facet of your life. So, for example, you have one for business or career. You have one for family. So now you rank order these, You rank order these in area of importance and specific times. So, therefore, when you look at your calendar, Monday between 8 and 5, let's say your business takes top priority. Are you with me?
Yep.
Then, if that takes top priority and something social comes at you, that's where you have to say, is this the best use of my time towards my business? Now, 5 o'clock, let's say you say now it's family time. Then your family time takes top priority. Now, are you ever going to have them conflict? Yeah, about every day. So, therefore, the no, you better have a reason to say no. And I will give you an example in our case. I was a football coach, and Dawn was a singer and a voice coach. And we were $350,000 in medical debt. And so back in 1992, I was working 100 hours a week and got into a side sales business, selling on nights and weekends. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
My wife is people-oriented, so Dawn would say, the kids need to see you more. And I would say, but Dawn, they should understand I love them. I'm fighting our way out. I wanted to be at my son's baseball games more than anything in the world. But because for a season of my life, I prioritized getting out of debt, in 5 years, I paid everything off. Now, I'm not telling you I enjoyed the ride.
Right.
But had I not said no to a baseball game and gone out and built our part-time business, we'd still be in financial bondage.
Right.
So for Dawn, we've placed as a top priority in this season of her life working with our grandchildren. That's what we've done as a business. 2.5 years ago, nobody knew this, but Dawn got mono. Dawn would do Facebook Live on a Thursday morning, and Dawn would come in and train 2 of the 3 days in our speaker school where we help speakers and trainers make money, not how to speak, but how to make money.
Right.
And then Dawn coached people on Skype, on LinkedIn. And the rest of the time she was in bed, and nobody knew it. And that year our business grew 27%. And I'll tell you why. I didn't have my partner, but about 10%. I had to determine what has to be done versus how many different things need to be done.
Right.
So I whiteboarded and I said, there's going to be some things that don't get done. But what are the things that have to be done?
Right. I was going to say, how often, because obviously, like you said earlier, life changes and, things come up every day. So how often would you suggest to everyone, they work on the overall boxes, the clarity, the focus, execution. But then when it comes down to that to-do list and those 5 categories, how often do you propose your clients take a look at those categories and their to-do list in order to ensure that they are working on the right things?
Okay. My priority management system stays with me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I don't make any decisions without looking at it. When I used to make my decisions shoot from the hip, Joe, that's what I used to call myself. We were in a financial mess. When I learned how, no matter what comes at me, no matter what, to slow the game down slightly and visualize or look at it, it's just sitting right on my desk with me. What did you say you wanted? When do you want it? Why do you want it? What is your plan of action? Now, is what this person asking you to do, is that the best use of your time towards your objective? So, for example, the last thing I'll do tonight, when I close the day for the business, I will do my to-do list and my call. And one of the top 7 for me is making calls to book appointments to sell training, speaking, and coaching. Got it?
Yep, got it.
That's going to be in my top no matter what. Even, 2 weeks ago we had a week-long boot camp, 3 days for sales, 3 days for speakers. When everybody was at lunch, I was making my calls. Why? That was one of my top 7.
Yep, nice. And I have to do a shout out for you because as I was sharing and promoting this show, this particular show with you, I got and I'm looking for it right now. I got a request, or not a request. I got an email from a Garrison Reekers, and he said that he saw this my announcement pop up on his feed, and he says, I'm a big fan of Joe and attended his speakers boot camp last fall. And so he wanted to kind of just do a shout out for just how much of a guru you actually are. So that was, I just wanted to make sure I passed that on to you.
In our world of consulting and speaking and training, I think it's really hard because it's very easy to teach or train on a methodology. Dawn and I will not speak, train, or coach on anything we don't do. So I live this priority management.
Yes, absolutely. Woohoo, woohoo! And I want you all to really experience him and get in touch with him. So let me, remind everyone, you can reach him directly. So say you have a question, maybe we didn't answer your rich question that we gave you at the top of the hour. We want you to be thinking about that one area of your work or life that you definitely know that you can improve on when it comes to getting things done, so to speak, his priority and time management area. So you can reach out to him directly, Joe at peachyandpeachy.com. So that's PICIANDPICI.com. His Twitter handle makes it easy, is at Pici and Peachy. So you can tweet with him, you can link in with him, Joe Peachy. Actually, if you Googled, top gurus, top sales training gurus, Joe Peachy, you're going to find him very easily because he is a guru. We're not done yet. I just want to make sure I mention a couple things. I also want you to reach out and take advantage of a free ebook that he has for you. It's called The Daily Practices of Top Sales Professionals. Don't forget whether or not you are a sales professional. You can always learn from other areas such as sales to apply into your own business or life. And you can get that at peachyandpeachy.infusionsoft.com. And I'm going to share with you the link online, because it's a long link name. But you can go to peachyandpeachy.infusionsoft.com. You can do /app/page daily practices, and you'll find it. But I'll make sure that that's all over Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we'll put it on our blog posts that go out after the program. So take a look for that. The daily practices of top sales professionals. So, Joe, in your mind, you've mentioned several benefits, but So say someone's out there, they're like, yes, I set my goals. Yes, I define my, actions and my priorities. Yes, I look at them as often as they feel that they look at them. How can they up-level themselves to being a master at priority and time management and have the type of changes that you've even realized as a result from mastering this skill set?
Well, first they have to do a self-analysis of why they're not doing the non-negotiables. Is it skill? Is it fear? Is it not knowing? I mean, the thing that Dawn and I have really encountered in the past 7 years is that people have stopped personally growing. They're not reading like they used to. They're really not embracing personal growth. And so I came up with something here, though. You asked me something about distractions.
Right.
I'm going to tell you the number one distraction in the world right now is people's technology. Their phone is beeping all day long. People have become slaves to their technology versus making technology my slave. And if they will become more proactive and not allow themselves to constantly, when a thing goes off, think they have to look down at their phone and see who sent some message out, the amount of time that's wasted is unbelievable.
So what do you recommend your clients to do in order to kind of shut down all those distractions?
I think they need to turn the ringer off. I mean, the beepers off on their phone. And they need to put blocks of time. So between 8 and 9, I'm making phone calls. Well, then I'm not going to get distracted, okay? I'm not going to look at my email. Do you know that if you start a project, any project, and then you get distracted and go to something else and come back, statistics say it takes you 500% more time to get it done.
Wow, 500% more time.
500%.
Damn.
So you might as well just finish it.
Right.
And there's so many time wasters out there. 7 years of our life we waste opening junk mail, And 6 weeks of our lives we eat lunch. What do we do when we eat lunch? Are we reading something? Are we listening something for personal growth? The average person drives 12 to 25,000 miles. Are you listening to the radio? Do you have an iPod with something that's going to grow you in your career or as a parent? So it's really utilizing the time and making time your slave versus, if it works out, it works out.
Yep. And that's why, going back to the very top of this conversation, you said that people really need to just plan and focus on events, priorities, and actions that tend to fall in this methodology of clarity, focus, and execution. Is that right?
Exactly.
Sweet. So in our last couple of minutes, what haven't we talked about that you think is a top area of priority, or at least something that folks should focus on when it comes to this subject matter?
All right, they get off the phone, and then they find some time, maybe when it's raining on Saturday, or whatever, and they use a big pad or a whiteboard, and they literally write on the top of the board what, when, and why, and then they sit down and say, what is it that I want in this facet of my life? But they make it as quantifiable as possible. If you can quantify it, then you can attack it. And then you get that timeline. And then spend time, why do I want that, really? Now, then you start putting your building blocks together. What's going to get that? Okay? Whatever your profession, career, whatever it is, you've got to put those building blocks and objectives that line up with that. So build your model. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Then you determine, write down the non-negotiables, what you know you have to do to have that happen, but would rather not do. and determine why you won't do them. Why won't I do that? Well, fear or lack of knowledge. I mean, people have said the phone is dead, yet the phone is more effective today than ever. And most people say, well, I don't like it.
Oh, that's good to know, everybody.
Because people aren't using it. When everybody out there says, well, no, people don't want to be called, they want text, they want email. The number one thing we do is we teach outbound live telephone call training. We don't do role play. And people are getting to decision makers easier now because nobody else calls them. But it's a fear. It's a barrier. And it's a barrier because they don't know how.
Right. Nice.
And when
now
you don't know
why
how...
everybody he's the sales guru. Well, Joe, I just noticed I can't believe we're out of time already. And I did want to mention, everybody, that if you go to peachyandpeachy.com, please be sure to look around. Look at his sales boot camp program that he has. Look at his professional speaking, his private coaching. He's offering Shedding the Bitch community members who reach out to him. And again, you can email him directly at joe@peachyandpeachy.com. But some great discounts, a $500 discount on his sales boot camp, the same for his professional speaking program, a 5% discount on any private coaching. And then, of course, you could even call. He's provided you his direct line, which is 407-947-2590. And you can reach out to him directly and have a conversation with him, learn more about it. But go to peachyandpeachy.com and just really tons of resources, tons of ways to work with Joe and Dawn, his wife. And you don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Joe, I definitely will have to have you back because I think this subject is so critical. And what I'd like to do to our listeners is challenge them to consider this methodology, work on your clarity, work on that focus box, work on that execution, all those elements he's discussed. Go back and listen to the interview again if need be, and then start executing on it. And reach out to Joe directly and let him know how your life is changing as a result of implementing his time management and priorization methodology. But Joe, I want to thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you. I hope I brought some value to your audience.
Tremendous. I can't believe that you didn't. So thank you so much for that. And everyone, I want to mention that we have some great guests lined up. We're going to be talking to Candace Smith about clearing up your etiquette confusion. We're going to be talking about kind of unleashing your inner greatness with Christy Rutherford. And we have a number of other guests lined up for the rest of the year. So keep an eye out. Please follow our radio program at blogtalkradio.com/Shedding the Bitch Radio. And I'll look forward to having you right back here next Tuesday at noon Eastern Time for another episode of Shedding the Bitch Radio. Thank you again, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. Join Bernadette every Tuesday at noon Eastern as she helps you shift your bitches to riches. And the dialogue is always going on at sheddingthebitch.com. See you next week.